Dzień dobry, witam Państwa raz jeszcze. Witam na drugim wykładzie w ramach Międzynarodowego Festiwalu Kryminału Wrocław 2017. Przed nami opowieść o tym, jak przekuć swój pomysł w interesującą, intrygującą czytelnika historię i opowie o tym szwedzki pisarz i scenarzysta Stefan Ahnhem. Powitajmy go brawami.
Thank you. Yeah, some of you got headphones, so I hope the technical thing will work. And everyone without headphones, I hope you understand what I'm talking about here. Yeah, my name is Stefan Ahnhem. I'm a Swedish author, crime author. I've been working about 20 years with screenwriting. I wrote for everything from comedy to crime. And maybe you heard about the Wallander series, Henning Mankell's Kurt Wallander series. I worked on that, and I did some adaptations from books to the cinema. Yes, is it working? Yeah. And what I'm going to talk about today is how to structure your idea into a story. I think for me, when I started out, it was, you're so full of ideas. The problem was, how can I turn this great idea into a good story? And so I read a lot about it, and I've been working a lot with it. So actually, the basic thing is to start to structure it, to see, okay, what is this idea actually about? And all the stories is having a beginning, a middle, and the end. It's not always you tell the story in that order. Maybe you want to start with telling the ending, and then you start with the middle, and you finish with the start, or vice versa. But there's always a beginning, middle, and end to a story. So that's the first thing you have to think about. You have this, it's about, for instance, you have this idea about this bank robbery, just to take an easy example. I mean, then the beginning could be the preparations for the bank robbery. The middle could be how they execute the robbery, and the end should be, are they succeeding, or are they failing, or they escape. It could also be, the beginning could be the actual robbery, the middle could be the escape, and the end would be, are they getting caught or not. I mean, so you can decide. That's where you're doing your first actually structuring of your idea, and we call it acts. I don't know how much you know about this, but I'm taking it from the beginning. You have an Act 1, which is the beginning, Act 2, the middle, Act 3, the ending. Normally, you would actually think that the first act is half the size, the length of Act 2, because everything is actually about Act 2. Your idea, what now your idea is about, is supposed to be the Act 2. That's where the good stuff is in your idea. So Act 1 is kind of a preparation, things the audience, the reader, do need to know in order to get the full advantage of Act 2. Then Act 3 is also shorter, half the size of Act 2, and it's, the ending. So then it's like, okay, what's the difference? When do I know when we go to the other act, when we are changing act? Let me start just to write so we can see where we are. And this is how I do every time I get an idea and starting to, structure it. So here, I would say Act 1. And double size Act 2. And here, Act 3. So, do like this. So then the thing is, okay, how do I know when we are leaving, when we go from Act 1 to Act 2, and from Act 2 to Act 3? And that's what we call have different names for it, like a turning point. Something will happen where the main character is facing the real problem of the story, of the goal, and he makes a decision, and then we go into the Act 2. So, as you know, all drama is about conflict. So if you have this idea, you need to know what is the conflict about. Because without conflict, there is no story. I think it's just how humans actually work. If we worked otherwise, there would maybe be peace on earth. But for instance, if you say you're going out with a friend to a restaurant, and there's a couple 2 tables away who are in the middle of a quarrel, you will constantly stop talking to your friend and listen what they are talking about. That's how we work. I mean, that's our nature. We can't help it. So all the story, it has to be about conflict. That's what drama is. So, in order then to develop, to actually see, okay, what is this point? Where do I go from Act 1 to Act 2? You need a main character or characters, something that wants something. For instance, if you have the bank robbery, there may be a leader who wants the money. That's what he wants. Maybe he's going to learn and get something else, but he wants something, and then you have things that villains or police officers or people who tries to stop him from getting what he wants. So when you have this, let's say, just for instance, here we have preparations, prep for the bank robbery. Here you have doing robbery, and here getting away. This could be, I'm not saying this is a great idea, so just bear with me. But this could be how we think, okay, then we have the focus on the actual robbery, and then they're trying to get away. And here you have the preparation. So, okay, seems fairly simple. But if you write, let's say you write a screenplay. I'm now writing books, but let's say you write a screenplay. It's supposed to be like 2 hours long, the movie. Then this should be around 1 hour. And this should be half an hour here and half an hour there. So, let's say you have 30 minutes here, you have 60 here, and 30 here. That means that when you're out here, because often when you write a screenplay, Act 1 is fairly, you know what will happen. Okay, they are preparing, they are getting the tools they need or whatever, and it feels that. But then it's here, this 60 minutes, 60 pages here. It can feel a bit like you're out in the desert or the ocean. You can't see the land anywhere, and you're just writing, and are you going in the right direction? You don't know. So that's why you break down the acts to sequences. A sequence is an event, a couple of scenes following each other that is about, the same issues. And normally, if you go and watch a movie on the cinema, you will see, when you analyze it, that most of the stories, they have 8 sequences. I'll write it down here. 8 sequences. And this is, no one has really just decided this, it just become like this. Because in the beginning, in the cinemas, for 80 years ago or something, one roll of movie was about 10 to 12 minutes long, and then the operator actually needed, when it was finished, the operator needed to take away that roll of film and put up another roll of film and mount it in the projector and then start the show again. So this is it was automatically kind of a chapter or a sequence. So with a beginning, middle and end for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then next chapter, next sequence put on 8 times per movie. And still today you can see that this is actually how we tell stories. A successful movie will always, almost always have 8 sequences. They are not necessarily as long, and some can be shorter, some can be longer. And if you talk about Lord of the Rings, 3-4 hour movies, they will have more sequences, of course. But you can see, now here we are starting something else. You can almost clock it and say, okay, 10 to 12 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, it will change. So that means that here in Act 1 we have 2 sequences. It's here, you do like this, and we do like this. Very ugly, I'm sorry. So sequence 1 and sequence 2. So normally sequence 1 is about getting to know the universe. Where are we? The laws of the nature that we're in, this story. What the audience need to actually understand. Who is the main character? What is this about? All that. That is normally the first sequence. But you have to have some conflict, as I said. There has to be something. For instance, have anyone seen The Party? The Danish movie. I don't know actually the English title. The Danish movie where they're having this party and he's holding a speech. Thomas Winterberg. Have you seen it? No, you don't know it? Okay. For instance, that was, it's a very well-known movie, and they are actually celebrating his father, who is, I think, 60 years old or something. So all the relatives is coming to this hotel to celebrate him for a weekend. And it's a really horrible story in every sense, because it's about rape and all this. Disgusting, but really, really well done. Then the first sequence is actually just about everyone is arriving to the hotel. Quite simple, actually. It's about 12 minutes of film. Everyone is arriving for this party. But you need conflicts. So what they do is, for instance, one of the characters is driving with his family, and then he sees his brother, the main character, walking on this road to the hotel. So he says, "Oh, my brother, come on in the car." And then he pushes his wife out. So he takes actually his wife. There's no place for his wife in the car, and they of course start to quarrel, and then he takes his brother instead. So you have conflict all the time. So what you need to think is, in the beginning, when you create a sequence, what do you want to tell? Who is the main character? What do you want to introduce him or her? And what is the audience, the reader, the one who's watching your movie, what are they going to wonder? I mean, it's always about how is this going to end? So, if we go back to our bank robbery idea, this could be, for instance, getting the gang together. That could be, you know, the most typical part, getting the gang together. But you don't just want, you know, a main character knocking on people's door. Do you want to join me for a bank robbery? I need you, and I need someone who can fix that and that and that. You need to have conflicts. You need to do this as a problem. So it's a problem that he has to solve. But normally, that's what you do. And here, maybe if you want a problem, then it's like, we really need to, we need this guy, it's the best bomb expert there is, and he won't do it because he's in jail. He can't do it, for instance. Okay, so then this could be how to get the bomb man out of the jail. Are you following me? Yeah. So then that would typically end with, okay, now he's out. Everyone in the gang is there, even the bomb man is there. And then this could be actually the preparation. In this first sequence, we will then have a couple of scenes which is about getting this bomb man out of prison, which involves guards, and you know, they have to do a lot of stuff. But then you think, oh, it should be actually around 12 minutes long. Then suddenly you know what to write about. You know, okay, I will have this sequence, you know, it will take place outside or inside this prison in order to get this guy out. And when he's out, that will be quite a a very good point of then, okay, this sequence 1 is finished. And at the same time, we have learned to know the main character and the characters, their flaws and everything, because actually doing something as getting this bomb man out of the prison, that will learn us to get to know them. So, this here, sequence 2, would probably be the preparation, you know, the normal, this is a bank that we are robbing, all the problems, we have to go maybe under this wall or through the roof or whatever, and the plan, actually, I would say. Let's say here, bomb man from jail, escape. And here, sequence 2, you will have the plan, and the preparation. So here we introduce all the difficulties in getting actually to the gold. And then they have to do stuff to get inside. They maybe, because now I'm searching, I haven't prepared this, so I'm thinking now, okay, we have this bank robbery that we need to prepare. Where can I get the conflict? Where can we get the conflict? Because you just don't want them to sit in a room and talking about and looking at maps. Maybe that's just the beginning of this sequence. Then you want them to do anything, and you want them to have problems doing it. So maybe they need to get inside the bank to have a look, to see where are the cameras or whatever. So there will be the actual action where they are doing something. And the thing is, here, everything is prepared, they have the plan, and now this point, the turning point, the first turning point, is the point where we know here, okay, here we learn as a viewer, we know, okay, this is the main character, they are doing this is a plan, this is what they want the gold in the bank. Fine. And here happens something that will change everything. So we actually are moving into the second act. And that could, for instance, be just when they started to do the actual robbery, something changes. Maybe the police are moving the gold to another place, or they have installed a new security system, or the wife has called the police. Whatever that makes actually creates a real problem, because you can't just have a story about a man robbing a bank, because we've seen that so many times. But what we need here is, okay, is this the idea of just robbing the bank, or is it they had to do it, rob the other bank, or no, they had to rob 3 banks at a time, which was Ocean's 11, 3 casinos at one time, at the same time? Or is it maybe he has to do it blindfolded or something? Maybe he's losing his sight, or whatever. It can be actually anything, but it's the change of plans. They are entering the new world, and this is the actual problem. So this point here is very, very crucial. Then at that time you understand, okay, this is what the movie is really about. It's not just about robbing a bank. It's it could be, oh, it's robbing a bank together with your wife, because else she will talk to the police or whatever. So yeah, let's say that they are almost caught here. A police watches them, or they changed all the security systems, so the plan won't work, and they already started. That could be an idea, that everything they prepared they have to throw away, and they have to improvise. So it's a bank robbery improvisation, and everything can go wrong there. So then we enter the Act 2, and there you can divide it in the middle, which we call the midpoint. And here and here we have points. So here you have sequence 3, sequence 4, and sequence 5, and 6. So then you have like 2 more sequences until you reach the midpoint. And you always, the midpoint, then you know, okay, then we're in the middle of the story. For instance, in a lot of my books, I have written 3 books now, the midpoint is always really important for me. And I know before I start to write, what is the actual midpoint? I write crime stories. So, for instance, in my first book, Victim Without a Face, the midpoint was, until here, we thought, and the police officer, they thought, okay, we have this suspect guy, we think he's the killer. They knew who the killer was, they just couldn't find him. But here, they find this person dead, and they realize, no, he's actually one of the victims. So everything changes here. So now, okay, everything we thought here is wrong. He wasn't the killer, it's someone else. And then it's like, who is it? So it can be almost anything, but everything has to turn around. So let's say now they have to do, they are here, everything is changed, the security system, so they have to improvise. So that would be the first sequence in Act 2, where they are realizing this, that we have to improvise. And then, of course, you have to think, okay, the immediate danger is always we will get caught. They will find us and we will get caught. That is always the threat they have here. So, I think then normally this sequence is their first attempt of improvising and they are really near to get caught, but they manage to do it. So here maybe they are a bit safe. And then you have this sequence, and maybe then they are getting closer down to the goal. They are getting, they could be, oh, they have this new wall we have to go through, and we don't have the right tools. How to get the tools for that wall, and so on. So this is actually the way you start to think when you have the idea, instead of just begin to write. Because if you just start to write, you will come like here somewhere, and then you will lose. Where am I? Where am I? So structure is almost everything in the idea. Then you have, when we come here, let's say that the robbery, you have to decide, are they managing to get to the money, get to the gold, improvising their way through it with all the new security or whatever, and it's either yes or no. And then they have to get out with the gold and not get caught. And so let's say yes, they got the gold, and then this will be the escape, getting away, yes. And this point here, we call it the twist, because you think 7, you should always write the 7th sequence, you should think it as the false ending. You should write it as this is how it's going to end. And then you have a turning point, a twist, and this will be the true ending. For instance, if you have decided that no, they won't make it, they will get killed here and caught. Let's say we have decided it. So we said, let's say killed by the police. By police. It's a sad ending. Okay, then you should think the 7th sequence, okay, they are escaping, and you should write it as they are actually succeeding doing it. They will get away. The police are not after them, everything is going fine. Maybe they are hunting them, chasing them, but they're going fine. And then here, in the twist, something is going wrong, so the police actually finds them. And then we go into the 8th sequence, which is the true ending, where they, in this story, get killed. So, always, it doesn't matter if it's a love story about will they get each other. If the end is, yes, Harry, you know, Harry Met Sally, the movie, yeah. Will they get each other in the end? Yes, in that film they do. Then sequence 7 is, no, they won't get each other. I remember this, they were, yeah, it was New Year's, celebrating New Year, and they were both alone, separate places, and it's like so far away, they won't get together. And then Harry decides, well, no, I love this woman too much. So he's running and running through whole Manhattan to get her, and that is, in that movie, that is a twist, and then they come into the true ending. Actually, I can write that. So, false and true. It doesn't matter actually what the story is about. That's how you should do it. The trick is to write the false ending so good so the audience really believes it. That this is how it's going to end. That is because you can't do it too easy, because we've all seen all the movies, we read all the books, so we know this. Even though we're not thinking about it, we know it. So the trick is really to use every skill you have to make this believable. This is how it's going to end. They are getting away with all the gold. And then you need some believable way of, oh no, now this happened. The petrol was out in the car, or whatever. So now the police is coming. So now I haven't talked so much about sequence 5 and 6. Normally, sequence 5 and 6, either one of them are more calmer. We learn to know the characters deeper. We go more deep into them. And for instance, here it's so clear, the turning point here, the second turning point is so clear, they got the goal, they got to get out. So it's very clear. But for instance, when you take I can't think about anyone right now, but it could be just a very calm decision. For instance, do someone know the English title of the movie with Susanne Sarandon, and when they're driving the car, escaping from the husbands? Yes, yes, right. The second turning point there is a very delicate, small scene. Have everyone seen the movie? Yeah, it's an old movie, but they are driving the car and they've been chased, they have killed, they have done a lot of different things. And the plan was actually just to go out for a weekend. That was a plan originally, away from the husbands and all that. Here, so much have happened. So they are in the car in the middle of the night, just under the stars. They're not driving, they're just stopping the car, and they have this chat, they talk to each other, and they decide that they will never go back. That's the plan. They are changing the plan. They don't want to go back to the husband. So much has happened, and they don't want to be caught by the police. So that's actually there where we go into the third act, which stops with them, or they are taking their own lives, driving out from somewhere, a cliff or something, isn't it? I remember. So here the turning point is that we will do this to the bitter end. We would rather die than getting caught. So they make this decision here, and then they die here. So, and here, then you have in Thelma and Louise, you will have a false resolution, a false ending, where we think that they are getting out, they will do it. They will live happily ever after somewhere else. And then Harvey Keitel, or the guy, the police, he finds them on a CTR video somewhere, and they start to chase them, and it ends with a killing, or them killing themselves. So, basic, this is how you structure it. This is how I work. I do it with all my stories, even with my books. Of course, when I write a book, I'm not thinking in minutes, I'm thinking in pages. So actually, when I wrote my first novel, Victim Without a Face, I decided that I wanted to have a quite long book. I decided it will be 500 pages. That was my decision, my goal. So then it was like, okay, then how much shall a sequence be? So I knew before, okay, approximately so many, 60 pages maybe or something, I can't really remember. Then it got even longer. But then I always knew where I was in the story. So when you think, if you go into the sequence more detail, let's say this is sequence. The sequence also can be thought in the same manner. That's the whole story. With an Act 2, Act 1, and Act 3, the sequence is basically a story in the story, with a beginning, with a middle, and an end. And then you move on to the next chapter, the next little story within the story. So in our sequence here, the first sequence, that was about getting the bombed man out from jail. So then that is, you can think of it as a short story, where you introduce your characters and everything. And so in the beginning, you must always think, when you create the sequence, where are the reader, where are the audience now? What are they wondering about? So you have to give them questions. Okay, so the question in this sequence will be, will they get him out? So, will they get bomb man out from jail? Question mark. That is, and in the end, you will have the answer. And in this particular sequence, that will be yes. So, okay, the audience is now, okay, this is what the sequence is about. This is a problem. And then you can create, oh, what is the first scene? Of course, that would be the realizing, the main character is realizing, oh, my favorite bombman, he got caught. He's not at home. He's in jail. Okay, we have a problem. We have to get him out. And then this is actually either preparation, sequence 2, or this is a preparation, or how they do it. But so then you have to think of how they're getting him out. And when they get him out, when you have reached the end of this sequence, you constantly or directly have to move on to the next sequence. So the beginning of next sequence 2 here is, okay, what is a new problem? Okay, we're robbing this bank. Oh, this is complicated, or whatever. And then it's, okay, preparing for that. So all the sequences are, in a way, short stories with middle, beginning, middle, and end, all the way through. And then, when you cut down, actually, and you go down to scene, all the scenes are the same way. You have a beginning, middle, and end, with turning points. A really good scene is, it's the same basic stuff, where, okay, this is a scene about. Here's something happening. So it's a real problem with the scene, or, you know, in the conflict. And now the scene takes away with this, and this is how the scene is ending. So it's the same everywhere, actually. So, anyone having questions? Now is the time. Yes?
Could you please... could you please give me an example, like on one big film or movie, you know, where was this 8 sequences, so that I get it right, you know, because I want to see it.
I would love to do it, but in order to do it, we have to watch the movie and analyze it. I've done it several times, but it will take, we don't have the preparations for that. But you can take almost every movie which is out on the cinema today, and you will see the sequences there. You will manage to, it's not that difficult actually. But I would love to do it as a special night where I could choose a movie from this year, and we could watch it together, and we could step through the sequences, of course. But then I don't have any movie with me.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I don't have experience in writing, so sorry, maybe this question is not very complicated. But I'm saying that basically the story is equal, and then the beginning, the first, the three parts are equal, or they can be quite different. So the beginning is short, like or the middle is short. Like
Okay.
is that you know, different? So this is the first question, and second question is like, when I read crimes many times, this looks quite different. Like on the beginning, a lot happens, and later there's very long, you know, story, kind of boring. But later at the end, everything happens. So how this, you know, goes with these sequences?
Yes. The first question, I would say, basically, you want the middle to be twice as long as the beginning, because it's the middle, the act 2, that's where the basic idea in your story is. So, for instance, I mean, it's act 2, that's what the audience are buying the tickets for. They are not buying the tickets for the introduction. And they are actually not buying the tickets to see how it goes in the end. They are buying the tickets for this. If it's, let's say, it's a sports movie, you know, will this football player, will he manage to become a part of the best team in the country? Then this Act 2 will be his main struggle of getting there. And you don't want this to be too short, because that is what your idea is about. So normally, not always, but normally, the first act is half the size of Act 2. That is the basic. Then of course it can change, but that is the basic. If you have an Act 1 that is as long as Act 2, then you will feel when you read or watch it, when does the story actually begin? It's a very long introduction. Or if you have it too short, it's like then you haven't done anything, then you haven't had time to really get to know the characters. For instance, let's say Tootsie, you know, the Dustin Hoffman movie, have you seen it? Yeah. Dustin Hoffman, in this movie, he plays an actor, he's an actor, and the problem is he can't get any roles. He's doing some bad commercial, he plays a tomato once, and you know, he's coming to auditions all the time, but no one will take him. And he's actually not that easy to work with, his producer says to him. So, that is a typical sequence 1. You have Dustin Hoffman, you introduce him, he's an actor, he can't get any roles. And he's trying really, really hard. And in sequence 1 you learn this, you know, okay, we're in New York, we're in acting world, and this is our main character. And we get to know some of his friends. And then, see if I remember right now, here he decides, or he got to know, he's searching for this soap opera, which is about, they shoot every day, television series. He doesn't get the part. He comes back, and he's dressed as a woman, and he gets a part. So that is how he solves, and no one knows that he's actually a man. So then we enter Act 2. And then, of course, this movie is about this male actor pretending that he's a woman, and you don't want that to be too short, because that's what the movie is about, actually. And so here he has different sequences. You have the love sequence, when he, you know, the male actor that he's acting against is falling in love with him, and you have the other love sequence where he's actually in love with a female actor, and all those troubles that are in this. And he has to change clothes and the makeup and everything. So I would say yes, that was a long answer to your first question. The second question was about, you said it was a lot of action in the beginning and end, and nothing in the middle.
I mean, I understand it better now. Because I said that, for example, like in Henning Mankell books, everything always starts at the beginning is always the crime, the murder.
Yes.
It's always the same, and then later is very long. He always, you know, a lot of thinking, wondering, and kind of very slow, you know, action. But not about Mankell, but in many books then it's very, very slow, and at the end actually there is very, you know, action. But now I understand what you said, that this is the whole point, that, you know, it's not boring, it's just a story, you know, the struggle and everything, right?
Yes, I mean, normally a crime story, a murder story, normally it starts with a murder, or they find a victim, a corpse, and then the police arrives, and let's say we would make a murder story. Here would be the killing. That would be sequence 1. Sequence 2 would be the police are coming in and trying to solve this. And here they realize that this is not the beginning. This is not the first murder. This is actually the second or third or much bigger. And that will take them into Act 2. The actual idea. Let's say, okay, so this is a serial killer or whatever. So you always need to think, okay, what is my idea? What shall I make the audience believe it is? And the characters. If we have the robbery, okay, we have the plan to actually do it. And then something happens, so the original plan won't work. Or we thought it was one murder, but actually it's already the third. So it's much bigger story. So, and then action or not action, this structure is not about action. It can be a love movie, a romance, or whatever the people are talking, or it could be, you know, a Western or a James Bond action also. That doesn't, I mean, I try to, when I write my books, I want something to happen all the time. I don't want it to be too slow, but that's a matter of taste, I would say. There was a question, yes?
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I need to warn you that we have queued another meeting in 5 minutes.
Okay!
That was the last question. Szanowni Państwo, niestety to było ostatnie pytanie, ponieważ za 5 minut musimy tutaj posprzątać. We need to make space for another meeting, so...
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.